Here.
Mr. Brady? Mr. Brady is absent. There is a quorum.
Any public comment related to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, Reverend Pinckney.
Okay.
Good afternoon again. I'm Reverend Pamela M. Pinckney Butts, and Pinckney Butts USA. I'm the daughter of attorney Dr. Betty K. Butts Pinckney and Mr. Charles E. Jackson Pinckney. And I said that for purpose and cause because some people think they know me and they really don't. And Chairperson, for the resolutions, for the first two resolutions, well, the first one, which is extensive, has a lot of components to it. It addresses education in many areas, be it on a lower level of academia all the way up to the next level, including Mayfield School District. The environmental issue that I'm concerned about right now is lead and mold. I was advocating for a gentleman, and he came before you all previously, and he had mold blotches in his skin from mold in his home in a Lakewood area. But I've also witnessed some of these buildings, and you can't paint over lead and mold, and these children are exposed to this as well as the adults going through some of these schools. And I'd like to know and have some more clarity on whether there really is a law in the state of Ohio or in the United States addressing these factors, because when you're affected by mold and lead, and it affects the brain as well as other components. And also for the environment, when we have the pollutants taking over the community, and I don't want to run out of time because I do want to address the child care, that also affects the brain. Like it's carbon monoxide, people smoking, secondhand smokers. I've been asking for a more extensive ban on smoking, but and it's going to affect how people learn, what they learn, and the way that they learn, and if they're able to learn. Would you please do some more research on that and implement a law that impacts this on behalf of the county that will therefore extend itself statewide, because those are some very serious issues. In the previous committee, they spoke often of mental illness. Sometimes it's physical illness, and sometimes it is mental illness, and there's a really thin line between the two. And a person who's really trying to pursue academia, whether it be a child or an adult, those components and environment will affect their education and other components of their lives. Now, I see also that you have something about the child care piece. I'm concerned as to who really is benefiting from that, because when I had my grandchildren with me, I could not get child care. And I would like to see what audience actually is benefited from the child care programs that you have in place. And I am coming back for non-agenda items. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other public comment
No,
related?
Madam Chair.
Okay, so the first matter referred to committee is 2017-0217. Can you read that, please?
Resolution number 2017-0217, authorizing amendments to agreements and contracts with various providers for youth in connection with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act to extend the time period to 6/30/2018 and for additional funds.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Mary Kelly, I'm the program administrator for Ohio Means Jobs, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, under our local Workforce Development Board. With me today is our Youth Program Services Manager, Mr. Steve Greenwell, and some representatives from some of the contracted providers who we seek to fund today, Ohio Guidestone, LEAP, and Towards Employment. So should there be questions that I am not able to answer due to specificity, I would ask permission to allow them to answer the questions if That's okay. The contract amendments and agreements today seek to utilize Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act funds from the Federal Department of Labor for our youth services providers to do job preparation, training, education, and placement for youth and young adults in Cuyahoga County, in addition to serving in and out of school youth with disabilities, and to fund the Youth Technology Academy at Tri-C, and to fund our Young Adult Youth Resource Center at our one-stop location that will be opening at 1910 Carnegie. They are open now, but we're having a grand opening in January that we will be inviting you all to. The providers receiving these funds have a proven track record of programs and services that result in measurable skill gains and job placement. They went through an RFP process and a rigorous scoring and review process. These 6 providers were chosen to provide 14 different mandated services that make up the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act.
Questions? Jack Schron.
Yeah, it's in my district. The Mayfield School District piece, can you give me a little background on what's going on there?
Yes, I can. That is the Cuyahoga East Vocational Education Consortium. I believe that you may know the director.
I do.
There, yes. I
know
believe that
very
they
familiar with the
serve.
CVET program, too.
They are going to be serving approximately 50 youth with various disabilities, and that's about what I know. Maybe I can have Steve come. Steve, do you know any more about that?
So that's going to be part of the CVEC program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then only because we're very, very actively involved in the CVEC program, we'll have enough votes up here because kids come from CVEC to my office every day.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, we have 12 kids that come there every day and have been coming for the last 3 years. So every day for the entire school year. So if we have enough votes, I don't want anybody thinking that we get no compensation from it. But I think it'll be better if I just you have enough votes here to recuse myself on that item.
I see what you're saying.
And
Okay,
unless I'm told that it's okay, but you're not. I think it's an ethics opinion on that. But again, for the last 3 years, we've been actively involved with the CVEC program. It's a phenomenal program. I can't speak enough good things about how it works and the disabled young men and women that come there every day. So it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are any of these funds for administrative support or use?
I
Or are they-
believe so, but I'm not sure of the percentages.
Okay.
For administrative costs, overhead.
Yeah, each agency is allowed to have up to 10% administrative for their work in the programs that they do.
Okay, thank you.
So this is an extension for a time period for a year?
Yes, it goes by the WIOA program year, which is a July to June.
And so we're just
timeframe.
extending these contracts, or these aren't new contracts?
No, these are
We're
not
just
new.
extending.
For the next program year.
And did you send out to bid to get any other interested parties, or are you just extending those that were already contracted with?
We're extending the ones that we're contracted with, but it appears that there was a full RFP process done in 2016. So these are probably, 1-year contracts with the option for the 2-year renewals.
Okay. So we might see you again next year with regard to either an extension or a brand-new process, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it'll be an extension most likely for
Extension.
next year, and then a new process would have to be done in 2019.
19?
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right, good. Any other, so is there any time sensitivity to this, or just this is going to be read a second time at council and then a third reading adoption?
There actually is a time sensitivity
Okay.
to this. The program year technically started in July, but as
see.
you know, with federal funding and the appropriations, And then we have to go through our own internal contracting process. So I would say it's time sensitive. I'm sure our vendors would
I
concur.
see. So this is, expired in June. I don't mind recommending this to go to second reading,
One more
suspension.
question, if that's
Okay,
okay.
Councilwoman Brown.
Madam Chair, are there any increases, decreases, or are these all the same as the prior contracts?
The contract amount, of course, hasn't changed, but I mean, the amount that they're using, because the WIOA, the funds we get from the federal government, they were cut, and so those, that resulted in the amounts that we were able to do for this extension.
So it represents a reduction.
Yeah, there was a reduction. There was about, overall, about a 30% reduction. Yeah, and that was from the WIOA funds.
And I'm sorry, I know it's time sensitive. Will this result in any reduction in number of children served or people served?
Yeah, I mean, each program had to say, based on, the new amount, here's how much we'll serve this year. And I think they all stepped up to the plate to do as many as they can.
Yes.
But with that much of a cut, there were some cutbacks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many children were served? How many do you expect to serve in the contract?
There were a little over 2,500 last year, and there will be close to about 2,000 this year.
So as they've been prepared for work, did it translate into, did the children go on to college, or did they find themselves going into the workforce as a result?
These programs cover both. Some of it is to help folks graduate from high school or to get ready for programs at Tri-C or get into Tri-C or go into education. Others are for job placement. The funds are dedicated 75% to serve out-of-school youth and 25% to serve in-school youth. And that's the WIOA formula that we're given to work with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairwoman, the Mayfield, just for background, has kids from school districts. I think it's 17 or 18 they're up to now. I think 18 school districts. So they're going to be coming from, I know, Ms. Simon's district, from your district. They're all over that go to, even though Mayfield is the housing for the children, they come
Correct.
from 18 different school districts. So
That's
it's really,
correct.
really cool.
And all the programs serve Cuyahoga County as a whole. There is no specific district that anything's limited to.
And the place they go is the food bank. They have, I think, 6 to 8 children every day go to the food bank, and they go to banks and to law firms, and we just happen to have them in our factory as being part of it.
That's great.
Exactly. For example, the Mayfield City School allocation, what is that for beside the administrative expense that Councilman Brown asked about? How does that directly impact the kids?
Well, for the personnel that are hired to do the work, because it's not just that they're sent out to these places, they're prepared to go out. They give them training and job preparation and job skills, and they'll do job coaching for them when they're out at some place. So it's the personnel to work with the kids in preparation and then follow through once they're placed somewhere.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so we're going to have an abstention, but I'm going to make a motion to move this resolution to the next.
Councilwoman Simon, just wanted to weigh in here. Councilman Tron, if you recuse yourself, just don't vote on the issue. Just abstain from the vote.
Yes, so, okay, abstention versus whatever. Okay, so I'm making a motion to move this to the next full council meeting to be heard and recommend under suspension for passage. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
We'll see
you.
you again. You're going to
Oh,
be
yes.
actually called back in to talk about the education component of our program for workforce, the
Okay.
scholarship and closing the gap for
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
educational assistance program from our council. Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Resolution number 2017-0219, making an award on requisition number 40298 to Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $1,600,000 for out-of-school time services for youth for the period 1/1/2018 through 12/31/2018.
Hello. Hi, Robin.
Good morning, Bob
Hi, good
Math.
morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bob Math with the Department of Health and Human Services. Of course, Robin Martin is the Administrator for Family Children First Council. I'm going to defer the program description to Robin. We were just kind of responsible for kind of overseeing the RFP process. This was competitively procured. We issued we released an RFP back in July for the out of school time programming services. We reviewed there was only one respondent, although we notified probably every organization that does anything with youth. We probably sent out notices to probably 30 or 40 different organizations, and Starting Point was the only one that responded. That being said, we set up our review teams. We scored it like we do whether we have one proposal or 21 proposals. One of the things we don't do is we never recommend an award by default just because there's only one provider. We still look at the response. We score it. We rank it. We make comments. We bring the provider in to negotiate, to answer questions. And I think Starting Point's response to the RFP gave us a very compelling response. I think their budget, they leverage a lot of dollars outside of county dollars, which made them a very attractive partner going forward. So I just want to tell you a little about the process, how it unfolded, and now we're coming in front of the committee now to make a recommendation of award, and Ms. Martin can talk a little more about the specifics of the program.
Hi, Robin Martin, Family and Children First Council. So the contract covers several components. It's not just out of school time. So it has out of school time. There's a transitions component, and under transitions, we look at things like marching to kindergarten. So making sure our kids are ready and prepared, and our parents are prepared for the first year of school. Tutoring, college access, reading to address the third grade guarantee, and creative writing and film program. The vendors in the community, let me back up. In addition to that, we also have a professional development component, and there's a whole data system included in the contract that tracks all of the services that the kids are receiving. So there's a component where we survey the kids to make sure they're satisfied with the service, but then we also look at the vendors to make sure that they are going through the process to ensure quality services to the young people. The vendors that are receiving services through this program go through an RFP process with Starting Point. Right now, we serve 32 communities. Through the RFP process, the organizations have to apply as a consortium. And the consortium comes together based on a community plan, and they look at their community to see what services are they missing. And so in the consortium, you should have 2 to 3 vendors. The 2 or 3 vendors should not offer the same services. So for example, you should have one vendor that offers an arts program, one vendor that looks at, let's say, a sports program, and then you may have if you have a third vendor, that third vendor may have some type of special reading or math program, and then we offer tutoring across all of them because it's offered through the city and county libraries. The contract before you covers about 94% of it is strictly direct services to the community, and only 6% is used to cover one staff person at Starting Point, and that staff person is responsible for manning the database. So if the providers are having problems with accessing the database, the functionality of the database, training on the database, that person is outsourced to help them to make sure they're able to submit their data so that we can provide reports back to the community and to the council on the effectiveness of the programs.
Straightforward. Okay, well, no questions from the committee. This is going to start in January of
Yes.
18, so this will go through 3 readings.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much for your concise explanation. So, do you have a motion?
Move to approve.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this will be going on to our next council meeting for second reading. Next item, Madam Clerk, please.
Resolution number 2017-0220, authorizing a contract to Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $1,200,000 for management, administration, and implementation of various support services for the Universal Pre-Kindergarten 2.0 program for the period 8/1/2017 through 7/31/2018. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Rebecca Dorman from the Office of Early Childhood and Invest in Children. So we're really pleased to bring forward our Starting Point contract. Starting Point, as I know you already know, is the designated child care resource and referral agency for our community. And I know you just heard how there was a competitive process to procure the last contract. What we have relied on is the fact that the Starting Point goes through a competitive process with the state to become the child care resource and referral, and has just done that very recently within the past year, and continues then to be the partner and lead for UPK. They were there from the beginning, created the model with us, and have led the technical assistance training support aspects of the program, MIS included, since the beginning. So this is a continuation of that relationship. The program elements that they are responsible for, because we hold direct contracts with all of the sites, and we do the monitoring, our office, but Starting Point does all of the quality improvement work. So quality enhancement, family engagement, professional development. They administer the Safety Net Scholarship Program, the resource coordination, and the MIS system. Out of this, and that's to 37 new UPK 2.0 sites, as we refer to them. $200,000 of this contract is being paid for with private dollars from the fundraising that occurred, as you know, as part of the big fundraising push. There are two special enhancements in the new model that Starting Point is responsible for helping us implement. One is our family engagement approach. So we have moved, as I think you have heard before, to this two-generation approach, where we're going to, well, we've always worked with Starting Point to help refer families to resources. We're really amping that up, hoping to create direct pathways to education and employment with families of UPK children. And to that end, there are two family engagement coaches that are being added to the Starting Point staff who will be working directly in the programs. So one will have 17 programs, 18 and I'm not doing the math today. They'll split the 37 programs, and they'll work directly on this family engagement work, helping support classroom teachers make the connections with families, but more importantly, following through on this new two-generation approach that we are creating. And that's truly cutting edge in the early childhood world. Not a lot of folks have figured this out yet. In fact, I got a call from the mayor's office in Chicago who got wind that we're doing it, asking how are we doing it? And I'm like, we're figuring that out, but obviously located within county government with all the employment push, we're hoping to really create some new pathways. The other thing that we're enhancing is the special needs child care work. So this is supporting programs to be able to maintain children who have special needs. And most of these kids have significant behavioral challenges. Starting Point subcontracts with other providers to send mental health consultants into the centers to help the classroom teachers and the program directors maintain the kids. You may have seen in the news, the number of preschool expulsions that has people concerned. There's actually some legislation being put forward by Senator Peggy Lehner about preventing expulsions preschool to third grade. So we're way ahead of the curve on that. But our providers told us they needed even more help because we've been providing technical assistance. When I say we, it's really Starting Point and their partners to providers now for 18 years. But when there are a number of children in a classroom that do have special needs, the amount of TA we were giving them was just not seen as enough. So we have created this new model, and they're implementing it. And Both the family engagement work and the special needs work is being supported with private dollars, and also the Adams Board is helping with additional funding for the special needs services. So I'm happy to take your questions. And this is also, as you know, Bob Stape, who's got all the technical numbers if you need anything else. So.
Thank you, Dr. Dorman. As it relates to being ahead, as when you speak about the preschool expulsions and through third grade, is that something that we are not doing, or when you say ahead, what do you mean?
No, we've really been leaders in the state with the program that we developed, which we call special needs childcare. But not every community is as lucky as ours to have this kind of program. So there's a growing awareness in the state and in the country that there are children being expelled from preschool. It's heavily boys and African American boys, so there's a disparity. But we've been ahead of the curve on that. So we have tracked the children who are the target of the services for special needs childcare. And we have seen that in one study that CASE did, sort of the official study, that 6 months after the TA was provided, 80% of the children were maintained in the setting. And they may have been gone for a whole variety of reasons, but now there's sort of ongoing tracking, and we're in the 90% and higher range of maintaining kids. So it's not our problem, it's just recognized nationally as an issue.
Am I to understand TA as teacher's assistant?
I'm sorry, technical assistance, yeah.
Assistance, okay.
And actually, Senator Lehner came here and did a whole site visit. I invited her to see our program, and she got great feedback from at Starting Point and all of us about the program that we've developed, suggestions to tweak the legislation, et cetera. So, yeah, she's a great partner.
I understand she's looking to eliminate the suspension component, but is expulsion also included in her legislation? I'm not sure. Can you enlighten us a little bit?
I'm not I'm not up to date. I hadn't heard that she was even eliminating the suspension component of it.
All right, and as you indicated, there is a disparity, so that is a concern as it relates to the African American community and young men,
especially little boys. Right. I'm the mother of 3 boys. I'm very sensitive to the boy issue in preschool. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, just wanted to get that in the in front of our hearing so that we are more aware and keeping our eye on those issues as they come to a head. So thank you.
Yes, sure.
Only because I'm more curious than anything else in regards to, there has to be some disruption that takes place, though. What's the technique or the tools that they have to address the problem? Because it becomes disruptive to the other students and children that want to learn in that environment. Just educate me as to what happens.
So the technical assistant specialist will go in and observe. Well, first there will be assessments are filled out on every child in the classroom, the Devereaux Early Childhood Assessment, which focuses actually at looking at the strengths of the child as well as the challenges, because you need to both address challenges but build on a strengths that a child may have. And you look at that and you observe the classroom, the specialist does. There can be issues in terms of some kids are more sensitive to different things. So it could be the way the classroom, the schedule of the classroom. So they may not be giving, especially boys need that time to sort of run around and have activity. Yes. So boys need some time before circle time to, have the chance to get some of their energy out. So it could be that a particularly rambunctious child or more challenging child is not being given that time. So he sits in circle time, starts, disrupting. So it might be as simple as just rearranging a schedule. It could be the physical layout of the classroom is just not allowing for transitions to happen smoothly from one activity to another, or the space of things is not worked out well. And it could be just how the teachers talking to the kids, managing things like that. So the TA looks at all that and looks at the assessment and then works with the program director and with that teacher on how can you adjust the classroom, whether it's schedule, whether it's how you talk to the child, where you place the child, et cetera, in the classroom to help manage things over time, and gives them different skills in terms of when the child starts to act up, here's some options of how you can manage their behavior.
But in life, there's very little 100% success on anything.
Right.
So
And
what happens in the situation where even the
there
TA
isn't-
says, geez, we've done everything I can think of in my lexicon of things.
Yes.
What is there?
It's a great question.
Is there a separate
Sure.
facility for
So-
teaching, or what happens?
So, no, it's an excellent question. So what we say is we don't expel the child. What you do is transition the child to another setting that is going to be more appropriate for that child, because it might be that that child cannot function well in a large group setting, for example. So a family child care home, which is a smaller number of children, a home-like setting, might be the better place for that child, for example. Or another classroom with a teacher that has a different style, something, or is more, has more training in dealing with kids with special needs. So we always say there's a transition plan if the child needs to move. And we have had kids who are, despite best efforts, if they're a danger to themselves or others, we hope that the teacher is implementing everything, but there may be the need for the child to leave that setting. The beauty of the special needs intensive model is, I think, that teachers sometimes need more time to sort of incorporate the skills and to really practice them. And so now they'll have 3-month time period with constant support from the specialist in there to make sure they're really using the skills, they're really practicing the skills, and we're waiting to make sure that the classroom stabilized before the specialist has said that we're ready to move on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It sounds as though that the separation is maybe a different term, because it just, I'd love for everything to always be 100% successful, but it just.
No, it is federal law that you must serve all children, even in private settings, children with special needs, as part of federal entitlement IDEA. We have to educate providers, first of all, that even as a private, of course, districts know this, but private providers are part of that. So you need to do everything you can to accommodate and meet that child's needs. So we're not perfect, but I think we've done really well. And what we say is you can't just kick out a kid, and it shouldn't ever. You should come to starting point at the first sign that you need help, not when the child's on your last nerve and you're ready to expel them, right? So that's something we've worked with providers. Come to us at the beginning, because if you wait and things fester, then that's when it's just like we're just getting rid of this kid and they've come too late. So this has been, many years of educating people about how this program works. And the state actually used us as a model and created a statewide program with just this much funding. So they haven't been able to really ramp up, but they clearly state Cuyahoga County as the model for the program.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Good luck, because it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there's some mental health to people who are assigned to cover children with perhaps some mental health issues. Did I hear you correctly?
No, the parent coaches are the
parent
two.
coaches.
So those are the two new roles that were, what we know is that early childhood educators have not received a lot of training in how do you interact with families, although we know that they are interacting with families all the time, because you have to walk your child in, you have to go and pick your child up. It's not like a school where the kids come in on a bus and you may never meet the families. So it's really important for everyone recognizes how important those skills are, but those folks haven't received the training as part of their higher ed. So what we're going to be working on is first providing that training to the teachers in the classroom as well as the program directors. And then the coaches are going to be, and looking at policies. So the coaches will look at policies. What are your family engagement policies? And really be there to help the teacher when there are difficult parents sometimes, and there are, children, when these children has a special need or is having difficulty, how do you talk to the parent about this? And to make them more sensitive to that. And I'll give you a brief anecdote. I had a child who started in a childcare center when he was 2.5. It was the middle of the year. He was a rambunctious boy, young for his age, and he was being disruptive in the class. And I hadn't heard anything from the teacher, so I figured things were going okay. And I walked in one day picking him up after work, how's he doing? And she just started with a litany of what a horrible child he was. Oh, he does this, he does this, he does this. And I was devastated. So, it really brought home, and she was a good teacher, I think. I don't think she was letting it show with him, and he ended up being her favorite in the end as he got older. But it was a good example to me of a teacher who didn't know, she didn't know how to bring the issues to me in a way that would have been more helpful. And when I asked, I got this, unloading of everything he'd done wrong. So, and as I said, she was a good teacher in the classroom, but she didn't know how to deal with parents. So those are the kinds of things we're hoping to help teachers learn how to do better.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't think we have any other questions, but I see that this contract goes, the commencement date was August 1st, 17.
Yes.
We're already months after that. So are we going to need a suspension, second reading, adoption?
We would appreciate that very much.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this will be at the next council meeting for approval under suspension. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank you so
Good to
much.
see you. We'll see you soon.
And come and visit one of our UPK sites.
Okay.
Anytime.
We will.
Love to have you. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Come visit Jorgens too, if you want to see them.
Pardon?
You come visit Jorgens, see our great kids too.
Okay. I drive by it all the time. I see your sign. Yes.
So do I. Okay. See you soon. Thank you. Okay, so I have no miscellaneous business, other public comment. I know we have the Reverend. Correct, Madam Clerk? Okay.
Good afternoon again. I'm Reverend Pamela M. Pinckney Butts. And I just heard a lot of very interesting things. Council woman and chairperson, without being offensive, would you please, as the chairperson of this committee, address the racial component of this? Many times, children with melanin in our skin are portrayed negatively because of the way our children display ourselves. And it's not mental illness. It's not a behavioral issue. It's just the character of the child in many times. And I'm going to go back to what I said originally. When you have unhealthy people, such as lead, carbon monoxide, you have environments that are full of pollutants and buildings and things that are not maintained, you're not going to have a fully successful academic or even employed type environment. Please look at the racial component of this. For those who don't know, I am the woman who did the invocation, the opening prayer, and the initial speech for the National Women's March this year on Public Square and rallied with the women downtown. Women have a voice and women have a choice. Well, that's still not implemented. And I also did the invocation and spoke at the International Women's March in March of this year. And our voices and our choices are still being silenced as mothers with our children. And we cannot assume that and this is not a slap in your face to the lady who just spoke with that terrific dress on, about boys and their energy, because I was never taught that because I'm a girl, I have a certain level of energy or something that I do or don't do. But there's a misunderstanding. And I say that very clearly because these programs that you have in place need some more results, better results, because just yesterday on Public Square, the children are down there. They're displaced, just like that displaced veteran that I mentioned to you all in council meeting on Tuesday. We have a lot more work to do. I am also currently the chairperson for Black on Black Crime Incorporated clergy, and I'm also the chairperson for Mayor Frank G. Jackson's reelection for his religious arena. And I ask you, and council members also, and everyone in this room, call us to task as clergy. I'm in the political world too, but we can do nothing until we pull together these other resources. And I am a pastor. I don't know your name, you ladies and sir, but I am willing to work with you and help you, Councilwoman, very much.